What's the deal with vitamin D? Find out here today on Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. Click on that little button down there in the corner, that little box right there, and it'll take you straight to IGTV for today's episode. JimmyRants.com is the website, and as always, you can engage live in the content. You really need to go follow me, though. I'm over on Instagram. @LivingLowCarbMan is the username. LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you are there, engage live in the content. We are here Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, pretty much all the time. I'll tell you if I'm never here, or if I choose not to be here, or if I don't show up spontaneously, you know something probably bad has happened. So, hope that doesn't happen. But thank you for being here today on Instagram. We also simulcast over here on my Facebook page, so thank you guys for being here. And finally, last but not least, I love my Jimmy Rancers over on the YouTube live stream. I think I saw Shirley was here and Johanna's here. So thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live here on Instagram, you can watch it on replay. It goes up on IGTV as soon as this is over. So go check out all the past episodes there. We also throw the past episodes up over on YouTube. If you type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, you'll find the show over on YouTube. And then finally, you can pop on over to JimmyRants.com. It's the official website for this here show. And once you're there, you can see all of the past episodes. And if you want to support the work we're doing here, I have moved more in all of my work, you guys, to Patreon only. So I'm trying to be a fan funded only kind of influencer. So if you like what I do, please go to my Patreon link at JimmyRants.com. Click on that link, and a donation of any amount would be greatly appreciated. Today is Living La Vida Low Carb Show day, so we do air Jimmy Rants on Tuesdays, a best of. So it's got a couple of episodes talking about the new school restrictions when it comes to COVID-19 and what the kids will have to do when they go back in. I obtained like one of the measures that was put into place somewhere here in the South from a teacher that sent it to me, and that way you can see what all the kids have to go through and the rise in suicides of kids, unfortunately, because of the isolation from coronavirus. So go check that out here today at LLVLC.com for Living La Vida Low Carb Show. Okay. What's up? Thank you guys for being here today. I wanted to talk about a topic specifically related to health, but it's related to your immune system. It's related to the coronavirus because when all of this went down in March, where we were left to face the COVID-19 virus, and it came into our country and it started spreading everywhere and they had us go into lockdown, the first action I took, was I boosted my vitamin D levels. So I've been taking supplements for many years, vitamin D supplementation specifically. I remember this was March. We were still kind of in the tail end of winter going into the spring at that point. So we didn't quite have the beautiful sunshine we have had during the summer. And so with lack of access to the sun, I boosted my normal vitamin D intake. I usually have taken around 10,000 IU a day. So IU stands for International Units, and it's the vitamin D. And I'll tell you about the kind that I use now and the kinds that I have used. But vitamin D, 10,000 IU, it's the D3 that you can buy in a supplement store. And I boosted it from 10,000 to about 25 to 30,000 a day. And of course, some people, they freak out about supplementations like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get vitamin D toxicity. And let me just quell that fear right off the bat, because I've talked to all the world's experts in health, and I've talked to the foremost guy when it comes to vitamin D. His name is Dr. Michael Holick, Holick. I had him on the Living La Vida Low Carb show many moons ago, but I asked him about that. Is there an upper limit of toxicity that you would be concerned about when it comes to vitamin D supplementation? He said he knows only one case in all the years he's been looking at it, one case where somebody was hospitalized with vitamin D toxicity. You want to know what happened? I've told this story before on Jimmy Rants, but it was a lawyer And he went to his naturopath, and oh yeah, take vitamin D supplementation. And so this lawyer misread the label. He got the 100,000 IU little pills. So you can get, very small amount, like 1,000, and you could get very, very high amounts like 100,000. Now, when you take 100,000 IU of vitamin D, that's probably one pill for like maybe the whole week. It's not meant to be consumed every day, but he did worse than that. He thought it was 1,000, and he took 10 of them a day. So Dude Man got 1,000,000 IU of vitamin D3 supplementation into his body, and very quickly he realized after like a few days, he was having some major symptoms of the toxicity kicking in. And Dr. Hollick was telling me this story, and he's like, yeah, the lawyer messed up. I was like, yeah, he messed up bad. They basically flushed his body out, and he was okay. He survived that. But fears about vitamin D toxicity are unfounded. You pretty much can't get toxic levels unless you make that kind of mistake like the attorney did. So I wanted to talk about what are some of the questions that people have about vitamin D. And I've got a news story here from insider.com that goes over this, but definitely feel free to talk about your experience with vitamin D, what you found maybe when you had your vitamin D levels tested. And here's the thing. If you don't know what your vitamin D level is, you need to know what it is. Because vitamin D, when it's in a deficient amount, and deficient is defined pretty much as anything under 30. 30, I think, is really low. The consensus among most of the people that I have talked to about vitamin D is you're trying to get in like that 60 to 80 range. If you can get into the 60 to 80 range, either through supplementation or sunshine or a combination therein, that's what you want to do. Very difficult to get vitamin D in food. You do get some in some of the foods, especially the properly raised foods that are allowed, the animals are allowed to roam out in the fields. Like I've got 17 backyard chickens back there, and they are getting exposed to sunshine all day long. Well, that sunshine on their body actually gets infused into that egg that I end up eating. So I get some that way. It's also on the body of the chicken that maybe the chicken is consumed. You can get vitamin D that way. Same with grass-fed beef, and having those cows out there in the pastures and getting the sun all day. And for a cow, for example, it's 2 years to come to maturation before it gets processed to turn into meat. And so there's a lot of vitamin D there. But for most people, skin exposure to the sun gives them pretty good amounts of vitamin D. And then when that's not enough, you need to supplement. So we'll get into some of that here in a second. But let me talk about testing. You have to know what your number is. I have talked to so many people that they start describing all these symptoms that they're having. Their doctor calls it fibromyalgia. Okay? So when a doctor describes you as fibromyalgia, can I tell you about maybe 5% of the people that doctors diagnose with fibromyalgia actually have fibromyalgia? Most of them have some kind of nutrient deficiency, and a big one that many people have is vitamin D. When you have vitamin D deficiency, it could get down into the single digits when it comes to the amount of vitamin D that's in your body. Vitamin D plays such a critical role. Let me go ahead and read the article. But if you don't know your number, everybody knows their cholesterol number because it's been hammered into us that somehow matters. Can I tell you your vitamin D level is far more important than your total cholesterol? It will be all day, every day. Total cholesterol isn't really telling you a whole lot about your body and about your health, but your vitamin D level is. All right, let's get into this article. And if you just joined us, we're going to go into all the ins and outs of vitamin D, what's right for me when it comes to vitamin D, We're going to look at sunshine and supplements. And the current supplement that I'm taking is this one from Wild Superfoods called Vitamin D Stack. I'll get into this one here in a minute. I've taken all kinds of ones over the years, though. This is the current one that I'm taking from my bud Abel James, Fat Burning Man. So I'll tell you about this one here in a minute. But you have to know what your level of vitamin D is, because it's crucial to your health. All right, let's get into this. The difference between vitamin D and D2 and D3, and which one you should supplement with. The difference between vitamin D2 and D3 is that whereas animals produce vitamin D3, and that's critical, D3 is animal-based. Plants produce vitamin D2. Now you might not think, okay, that's not a big deal. What does it matter whether I get the vitamin D from animals or plants? When you go to a doctor and the doctor sees that you have low vitamin D, if he runs it at all, but if he does run it and he sees it's below 20, for example, he will give you a prescription to take once a week. It's a big black pill. It's a big horse pill. It's a black pill. It's vitamin D2. It is a prescription that's 50,000 IU of vitamin D2. Can I tell you that is completely useless? If you've been to see your doctor and he prescribes you that vitamin D2, which is, again, as they said in this article, produced from plants, it's not doing very much for you, because vitamin D2 is not what the body can use. The body has to convert that D2 into D3 to then be usable. Now, the funny thing about this is you can go down to the store right now. You can go to GNC, Vitamin Shop. You can go to any store. You can go online. You can get vitamin D3 gel caps. That's mostly the form. The one that I use from Abel's company is not gel caps. I'll show you here in a minute what it looks like. But gel caps tend to be the better ones. Now, even with those, you have to be careful because they have to put it in an oil. And sometimes some of these companies are skeevy and they use a cheap oil like soybean oil, so be aware of that. Try to find the ones that have like olive oil or coconut oil or some kind of a healthier oil. You guys know by now, watching Jimmy Rants, what the healthy oils are. So those are going to be far better for you and cheaper. Like that vitamin D2 big horse pill that you have to take and you only take it once a week. That's not doing you a lot of good, and you're taking this with a prescription, whereas you can go down to the basically the drugstore, a vitamin store, anywhere, and get vitamin D3 gel caps. Take as much or as little as you want, depending on your deficiency. So the whole 50,000 in one swell foop might not be enough, actually. So, again, if you're joining us late, we're talking about vitamin D today, because a lot of people have questions about this. And if you have questions about vitamin D, please feel free to share them below. But I'm going to go back to this story. When choosing a supplement, opt for vitamin D3, which is what I was just saying. It is better absorbed by the body. It's recognized by the body. It comes from animals. And so the human body is more apt to recognize something coming from animals than it does from plants. This is why people on a carnivore diet, for example, seem to thrive, because those animal-based foods tend to have things that the body recognizes. Vitamin D can boost your immune system. So now you know why Jimmy Moore went from 10,000 IU a day to about 25 to 30,000 IU a day. By the way, I'm down from that. Now that it's sunny outside, I make sure I get plenty of sunshine during the daytime, probably about 20 minutes on the skin. And of course, I'm in a secluded area in my neighborhood and I have a privacy fence in the backyard. So don't laugh. But I strip down naked and go out back and let all of the rays hit my entire body. Now you're like, that's crazy. Why do you want to do that? And it's simple. The more skin that is exposed to the sun, the more absorption of that sun, which, by the way, when you're trying to make vitamin D, there is a key part of your body that is needed to be in higher amounts in order for that synthesis from the skin to translate into vitamin D. It's going to shock you. You may not know this. You need cholesterol. Yes, that cholesterol they keep trying to get us to lower. That same cholesterol that they think is leading us to heart disease. Did you know if you don't have ample amounts of cholesterol, that skin, sun touching your skin ain't going to do any good in creating vitamin D unless you have adequate levels of cholesterol. So if you're worried about your high cholesterol, can you just like get out in the sun more? You'll produce more vitamin D. I think we bellyache about a lot of things that we don't need to be bellyaching about, and that's one of them. But I get out there and I allow the sun to hit me. Sometimes I wear shorts, but I'll take my shirt off and it'll just be covering all my skin. And you get all that. You feel good out in the sun, and then at the same time you're producing lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of vitamin D. So I have backed down again on the amount that I supplement, so I don't take near as much of the supplement now during the summer. But when the winter comes back and the sun is not as long during the daytime, I'm going to start boosting up my vitamin D. Now, I typically do that during the cold and flu season anyway, but all the more during the midst of COVID-19. All right, let's get back to the story. Vitamin D boosts immune system, helps your body absorb calcium. That's important too. So if you're eating foods that have calcium in them, let's say it's dairy, your body can't absorb that unless your vitamin D levels are at a proper level. And it could even prevent cancer, having high enough vitamin D levels. So this was medically reviewed by Dr. Julia Blank, at family medicine physician at Providence St. John's Health Center in Santa Monica, California. You may know that vitamin D as an essential nutrient, or is an essential nutrient that helps you absorb calcium, keeps your bones strong. There's another key element of vitamin D. It makes your bones stronger. It does. And so strong bones, stronger immune system, prevention of cancer. You seeing some of the benefits so far? But vitamin D, people call it a vitamin. Did you know it's not actually a vitamin at all? Vitamin D is actually a hormone. Yes, exactly like insulin, exactly like thyroid. It's just another one of the hormones, and it acts that way in the body. Which again, when it is depressed, which means it's low, you're not going to have great performance. I'll tell you, I've heard from many of people that when they have vitamin D levels, especially down in the single digits, not only do you have symptoms of fibromyalgia, you start to have mental health issues as well. So I've seen many of people have panic attacks and bipolar and depression and anxiety, all of these things that they then put them on one of these SSRI brain modulating drugs when they don't have a drug deficiency at all. They have a vitamin D deficiency. So when you're out in the sun, don't wear a cap, pull a cap off, let that sun hit your brain, and you'll produce all kinds of vitamin D that will just ooze right into your brain. And it'll make you feel good, it'll make you sharp, and you'll be healthy. The most common vitamin D compounds are vitamin D2 and D3. They come from different sources. Doctors generally prescribe that vitamin D2, which is what I talked about earlier, if you have a vitamin D deficiencies. But experts are now noticing that vitamin D3 is much better to take. It's easier for your body to absorb and may work better to boost your health. So people take that big horse pill, the big vitamin D2 horse pill. I remember getting prescribed that thing from my doctor way back in the day. And I'm going, and people just take it. But when you become educated and you're trying to figure out what am I doing for my body, you realize there's better ways. You realize 50,000 IU in 7 days is probably not enough, and it's not the right kind if it's vitamin D2. So that's why you go get the vitamin D3. So here's what you need to know about the differences between D2 and D3. This was really good information. Vitamin D is not a vitamin, it's a hormone, affects many parts of your body's functions. It is essential for good health, according to Susan Lanham-New, a professor of human nutrition at the University of Surrey. About 10% of your vitamin D comes from the foods you eat in the form of vitamin D2. So if you eat a lot of plant-based foods, that is where you're getting that D2. So if you're carnivore, you're not getting any of that. While 90% is produced within your own body, and that's D3. So that's where the sunshine is hitting your body, your skin, and this is why 90%, that's significant production of vitamin D coming from being out in the sun. It doesn't take long, guys. Just get as much of your skin exposed to the sun as possible. You guys might see various people go on Instagram Live, not wear a shirt, and they're out in the sun and they're doing their Instagram Live. They're doing that because they're trying to get the vitamin D from the sun hitting their skin, and they've got high enough cholesterol levels and all the things. And they're basically storing up the vitamin D in their body. So what are some of those benefits? Let's look at those. It helps to absorb calcium. Your kidneys convert vitamin D to an active form, which plays an important role in regulating the calcium levels in your blood. Vitamin D helps your body absorb calcium and phosphorus, which are both necessary minerals for building your bones. And it reduces the risk of osteoporosis, and it decreases bone density, which is osteoporosis, later in life. So you want strong bones, you got to have great levels of vitamin D. People think, oh, I want strong bones, I need more calcium, 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 calcium. Well, what if, and let me give you an analogy, what if calcium is the bricks of a building, okay? So if you have more and more and more bricks on the property where you're building a building, is that better, or is that doing anything good if you just have lots of bricks just randomly scattered all over the place? No. You need a builder to come in and tell the bricks where to go and to put the bricks and have it constructed into something. Well, that's what vitamin D3 does for calcium. It builds the brick building. And then that way your body can operate the way it's supposed to. So absorbing that calcium is so critical, you guys. Boost immune system. Right now, everybody and their mama's waiting on the vaccine, fearful about coronavirus. I'm not fearful of coronavirus. If I get it, I get it, but I'm putting my body in the best possible position to deal with it by making sure that I'm getting adequate levels of vitamin D into my body. Vitamin D is important for the immune system's functioning. People with insufficient vitamin D have a lot harder time fighting off a virus or infection and may be more likely to have autoimmune disorders. So anybody that you know who's dealing with autoimmune disease like Hashimoto's, endometriosis, rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, it runs the gamut, all these autoimmune conditions, almost invariably, they have low vitamin D. You see why vitamin D is important yet? It's pretty darn important. May prevent cancer. Some studies have linked higher levels of vitamin D to a lower risk of colorectal cancer. However, more research is needed to see how vitamin D affects the cancer risk. So that's an emerging field that we'll be seeing more studies on in the years to come. All right. So let's look at this D2, D3 thing. And if you joined us late, I'm talking about vitamin D because there's a lot of misconceptions about it. And when you go to see your doctor, when you have a deficiency in vitamin D, he typically gives you this horse pill, which is a big black horse pill, and you take it, it's 50,000 IU of vitamin D2. Well, that's not the kind of vitamin D that your body recognizes. Your body recognizes vitamin D3, and typically those come in gel caps and capsules like the one I take. I'll show you here in a minute. And so let's look at some of those differences between vitamin D2 and D3. Both humans and plants produce vitamin D when they are exposed to the sun. While animals produce D3, plants produce D2. When deciding whether to take D2 or D3 as a supplement, they say it's always best to choose D3 over anything else. It's much more effective in raising your vitamin D levels in the blood. This is because your body breaks down vitamin D2 more quickly. It doesn't remain in the body for long. So that 50,000 IU that you take of vitamin D2, that's the prescription from your doctor, yes, it will raise your vitamin D levels quickly, but by the time you retest, you've lost it. So this is why I believe people that are deficient, and I define deficient as anything under 50. If you're under 50, you're deficient in vitamin D. Clinically, they look at, in the lab test, they look at under 30. They're okay with people having a 30 vitamin D level. I tend to feel best when I'm well over 50. I tend to like to stay in that like 60 to 80 range. The highest I ever got was like 110, because I was going to town on the supplementation. And I'm like, okay, I got it high enough. Good, I can back off. And I did that for a period of time, but I keep an eye on it just to make sure it stays in that range. The last test I did for vitamin D, I'm due for another one soon, but the last one I did was 1 year ago, and it was 54. So it was a little bit lower than I wanted it to be. So I started ramping up the vitamin D supplement again. But they will put you on this vitamin D2 supplement, and it's not doing anything. And you can actually hone in. Let's say your level of vitamin D came in at 15, anemically low. So what do you want to do? You want to get that level up, definitely over 50 again. I would say for at least the next 6 months, take 10,000 IU a day of vitamin D3 supplement. So again, if you joined us late, D3 gel caps is what you're looking for. Try to find ones that don't have the soybean oil as the oil. Try to find one that's got olive oil or coconut oil or MCT oil. Maybe like sunflower oil is okay, but for the most part, you're just looking for a healthier oil because they have to put the D3 in some kind of an oil. And then take that 10,000 IU a day. And so they come in these little bitty little ball things that are gel caps. And if you could buy them in increments of 1,000 IU, 2,000 IU, 5,000 IU, and 10,000 IU. 10,000 is a little harder to find. 1,000 you find everywhere. 5,000 is a good one because you can take a couple of those and you get your 10,000 IU. If you need to ramp it up like I've been doing lately, and I use 5,000 with the one that's not Abel's company, I take 5,000, and so I'm getting 5 or 6 of those when I take my supplementation during COVID-19. But then test again in 6 months to see how that has done. And what you'll find is that 15 that you started with, after 6 months of daily 10,000 IU, might have only gone up in the 40s. And that's where you maybe need to go to 15,000 for a period of time. Again, to get it to go up to the level that you want it to. Or maybe you did 10,000 IU a day, started at 15, 10,000 IU a day, and now it's 75. Okay, you can probably back down to 5,000 in addition to getting sunlight outside. So it's a tweak thing. That's why I don't like this kind of one-size-fits-all shotgun barrel of vitamin D2 and a prescription thing for everybody that has low vitamin D. Doctors are not doing their patients any good with that kind of approach. There was a study in 2011 published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism. They found that vitamin D3 was 87% more potent in raising your vitamin D levels in 33 healthy adults compared with D2. Vitamin D3 was also stored more effectively in the body's fat cells. And this is critical too. You need that vitamin D available for the purposes that vitamin D serve in your body. So if it's not in the proper amounts and the proper kinds, then you can have health consequences. There was another study in 2015 published in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition, found that while vitamin D2 and D3 were both effective in raising vitamin D levels, people who took the vitamin D3 kept up their higher blood levels for 77 days after they stopped the supplement. That's pretty hardcore. That's 2.5 months that they kept those levels of vitamin D higher, whereas the people on the plant-based vitamin D, the vitamin D2, did not. Didn't say in this story how long they kept it, but pretty interesting, right? So what are the sources of vitamin D 2 and 3? You might want to know. Though most of the vitamin D does come from the sun. And again, get sun exposure. If you've got a place where you can sunbathe with as little clothing on as possible or none at all, do that. The only people that see me naked in my backyard are my 17 backyard chickens, and they're like, put on some clothes, Daddy. But yeah, I do it back there, and it's wonderful. I just try to avoid the poop piles where they're pooping everywhere. We can also get vitamin D through your diet. There are relatively few dietary sources of vitamin D3, but you can find vitamin D3 in these foods. You ready? Fish, particularly trout, salmon, sardines, and cod liver oil. All of those things too also have healthy omega-3 fats. So highly recommend that. Egg yolks. Remember I told you about the chickens in the sun back there in the backyard? And they're exposed to the sun all day long. Well, guess what? All of that sun goes right into those yolks. And there's vitamin D in that yolk because of that. Beef liver. So can you imagine fish, egg yolk, and beef liver? Pretty darn keto carnivore, right? So if you're already to that bent, make sure you prioritize these to get proper vitamin D. D3. D2 can be found in mushrooms like portobello and shiitake, particularly mushrooms that have been exposed to UV radiation. So in other words, exposed to the sun. So if the sun hits down on those mushrooms, they're going to have vitamin D2 in them. And then of course they put here the obligatory foods that are fortified with vitamin D, such as milk and cereal. Can I tell you, when I walk by the cereal aisle, I do it sometimes just for the comedy of it, because I want to see what health claims they put on the front packaging of cereal these days. And I remember, I'll never forget, I was walking down the aisle, and on the front package of Fruity Pebbles, an excellent source of vitamin D, and it just popped off the front of the box. And I'm like, all right, let's see what they think is an excellent source of vitamin D. And I was shocked. 400 IU. 400 IU. I could stand out in the sun for 1 minute and create 400 IU of vitamin D. But they were bragging about it being an excellent source of vitamin D. Their definition of excellent and my definition of excellent are two radically different things. All right, so the bottom line is you're unlikely to get enough D just from your diet alone. It's always possible for you to go outside and get some regular sunlight, and I would recommend that. And I would recommend it at different times of the day. Like obviously, the middle of the day is going to be the apex of where the sun is in the sky. That's going to be the most direct sunlight that you're going to get all day. So it's 11:30 Eastern right now. About 1 to 2 o'clock is the apex here where I live of the sun. That's when you want to try to get the best exposure. But you can get it in the morning time. You can get it as the sun's going down, as long as sun's still hitting you. Plus that also entrains your circadian rhythm by the light being in your eyes. So you get a multiplicity of benefits, not just the vitamin D. If you want to take a supplement to boost your vitamin D levels, vitamin D3 may be a better choice, as it can have a stronger and longer lasting effect on your vitamin D levels. I have seen that. Though you need to be careful not to overdo it. Remember, I told you, you can't really get toxicity from supplementation of vitamin D unless you go obscenely high. If you do get vitamin D toxicity, nausea, vomiting, kidney problems, depression, and calcium building up in the blood vessels and vital organs. That's a scaremongering tactic in this article. It can't happen unless you just go crazy like that lawyer did, taking 1 million IU. All right, so they conclude everyone needs to be taking vitamin D during the winter. So around October, November, boost your vitamin D supplementation. This is particularly important for people who are at risk for deficiency. Here are the at-risk categories. The elderly. Elderly people tend to stay inside a lot. They avoid the sun. Here's the other thing. We have been entrained and propagandized to stay out of the sun. Why? Because they tell us you'll get skin cancer. Can I tell you that was a lie from the pits of you know where? And because of that, we're deficient in vitamin D. People don't let their skin get exposed to the sun because they've been scared half to death that they're going to get skin cancer. Can I tell you, that doesn't happen. Especially if you're eating a nutrient-dense diet full of real whole foods, you're taking care of your body, you're doing all the things to be healthy. One of those things you need to add to your regimen is sun exposure. And yet people don't get out in the sun. So by the time you become elderly, maybe you're in a nursing home at that point, you'll see a lot of nursing home people, they're very white on their skin. They're not getting the sun exposure. That makes them deficient in vitamin D. Ethnic groups who have darker skin. So the Black community, the Hispanic population, these guys have a tougher time. We're pretty fortunate with our lighter skin being able to absorb that vitamin D a lot easier than people with the darker skin. And so supplementation might be helpful for those group of people. And then the last one is pregnant and lactating women. So if you're currently a woman who's pregnant or if you're breastfeeding, it can be tricky getting vitamin D levels to go higher. So you also need to be supplementing. All right, so let me show you this supplement that I have from Abel James. Again, it's Wild Superfoods. This is the one I'm currently using. I've been using vitamin D for a very long time, well over a decade. And I take vitamin D supplementation all the time and at the appropriate times of the year, get proper sunshine. And I've been doing that on the regular here where I live. So let me show you what these look like. These are not the gel caps, but I want to show you what they are. So they are capsules that have the vitamin D in there. But the thing is, it's not just vitamin D. Abel was really smart with this because he not only put D in there, vitamin D is what's called a fat soluble vitamin. This is why in the gel caps, you guys, you need to be careful to try to get them to make sure that they have fat with them or eating proper amounts of fat with them. Now, most of you eat kind of a carnivore, ketogenic, real food-based diet that watch me. The fat is so critical when you're taking D because A, D, E, and K, all of those vitamins A, D, E, and K, they are the fat-soluble vitamins. Well, guess what Abel did in this supplement? He put A, D, E, and K. Don't just take vitamin D by itself. You want to try to make sure, especially K2, you want K2 with the vitamin D so that it tells the calcium where to go. Because if you don't, the calcium doesn't know where to go, and it could end up in coronary arteries or it might end up in a bone spur in your foot. So this is why vitamin D is so critical. If you've got like a growth somewhere, that could be because you might be getting vitamin D, but you didn't take it with K2. So K2 is an important element of that. And again, those foods that I mentioned earlier, the beef liver, the egg yolks, the fish, those are all excellent sources of both of those vitamins. It's got a whole bunch of stuff in here, but check it out, guys. Vitamin stack from Wild Superfoods, wildsuperfoods.com if you're interested. He didn't pay me to say that. I like Abel. He's a good guy, and he's got a great product there. But for me, I have taken over the years vitamin D gel caps, and I love them. And I, again, try to keep an eye on my vitamin D level. And vitamin D is a simple blood test, you guys. In fact, you could probably look up online and have a kit mailed to you that will let you like test your blood at home, stick it on a little thing, mail it back in, and then they'll email you what your vitamin D levels are. And if you came in late, if you're below 30, that's low, according to the lab tests. I think it's low if it's below 50. Optimally, you want to try to be between 60 and 80. And vitamin D has all of these benefits that I don't think we give it enough credence. And it's not just vitamin D. There's all kinds of vitamins. And again, I talked about this in my book, Real Food Keto. There are so many benefits to vitamins and minerals and all the things in your body. I don't think we realize that because we argue about things like calories and macronutrients. But I think the missing piece in a lot of people's health has nothing to do with calories or macronutrients. I think it has everything to do with the micronutrients. I was going to see if I could find the part in here that talks about vitamin D. Here it is. Oh, that's just vitamin deficiency. Let's see if I can find the D part here so we can give you a little bit of factoids from Real Food Keto. Vitamin D. This key vitamin helps regulate calcium and phosphorus absorption. It maintains strong bones and teeth. It can protect against developing cancer, multiple sclerosis, and type 1 diabetes. Those are all autoimmune conditions. It can prevent osteoporosis, normalize your immune function. It's the gold standard treatment for the skeletal disorder known as rickets. So if you've ever heard of rickets, the gold standard is to give them high doses of vitamin D. It contributes to healing a broken bone. So if you've broken a bone in your body, vitamin D will help that heal faster. And it mobilizes excess calcium out of the body. So it's pretty cool that vitamin D, by the way, that's from Real Food Keto. Go check it out wherever books are sold. And yeah, vitamin D is critical. And I think we need to be paying more attention. And this is like next level stuff. Let's say you found keto, you started doing it, you eat real food, you're dialed in, you're starting to do some movement, you're starting to sleep better, you're doing all the things. Now you want to kind of go next level. Next level is, okay, where am I maybe deficient on some micronutrient in my body? And vitamin D is one of the ones that rises to the top of the heap that you need to know what your level is. All right, let's see what you guys have to say, and I'd love to hear your story and experience with vitamin D. We're going to come here to Instagram first, then over to Facebook, finally over to YouTube. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. See what you guys have to say. My stand got a little bit off, so I'm going to lower you guys just a little bit. There we go. It felt like I was like really high on there. Ketosaurus Jax gave me a bunch of emojis with sunshines. Yes, get it from sun first and foremost. Like, I don't want anybody to hear me say, just supplement the heck out of your body. No. Supplement is meant to supplement. What are you supplementing? You're supplementing exposure to the sun. So make sure you're getting adequate sun. This was kind of the funny thing when they put us all on lockdown. They're like, stay inside. I'm like, stay inside? No, go outside. Get lots of breath of fresh air and get all that sunshine hitting your body. This is the other thing, guys, about COVID-19. Why aren't they telling people to go out in the sun? How, I just read in the story and from my book, Real Food Keto, one of the major things that going out in the sun does and boosting your vitamin D levels is it boosts your immune system. Like, why aren't we hearing that from on high? Should be pretty well done. But I think you know why. All right, let's come over here to Facebook. What's up, Facebook? See what you guys have to say here on this one. Tracy says, I just watched a video by Dr. Siwas on vitamin D. It was very informative. Yeah, he's always good. That South African accent that he has is so enchanting. I'm not even going to try to mimic him, but it's pretty funny when you try to mimic him. Kira says, my neurologist wants me to take 10,000 IU of D3 daily because of my alleged multiple sclerosis. I'm really losing faith in doctors. I only take the 10,000 vitamin D about twice a week. Not sure if it really matters in the summer. I would do it anyway. If there's a concern there, again, you can't get a toxicity level unless you go 1,000,000 IU. So I would go ahead and take it every single day at 10,000 IU as your doctor has instructed. I would trust that, Kira. All I know is that this same neurologist had me combine high levels of calcium vitamins. You don't need to take calcium. If you're keto and you're getting adequate levels of all the keto foods, you do not need to be taking calcium. So that was bad advice. With the 10,000 D3 and 10,000 mcg of biotin daily back in 2016, and it made my hair fall out. Well, vitamin D will not let your hair fall out, so I would boost your vitamin D. When I got my vitamin D tested, it was 92. So you got it elevated, but don't blame the vitamin D on the hair falling out. That was not the vitamin D that did that. So I stopped this combo. The hair stopped falling out. It did not come back. I like when my vitamin D level is 45 to 60, and that's good that you found that kind of sweet spot for you. Just keep an eye on it. I know your neurologist meant well, but he definitely led you astray on the calcium supplementation. All right, thank you, Facebook. Let's pop over here now to my YouTube channel, see what you guys have to say on this one. What's up, Shirley and Abel, Savannah? Abel is the guy that created this supplement that I've been talking about. He's over on my YouTube channel today. You didn't know I was going to talk about your supplement today, did you? Really appreciate the Wild Superfood shout out. We're doing our best to make sure we're all topped off on our D3 and other cofactors. Well, good. He said sunbathing in your birthday suit is the best. It really is. As long as nobody else is around, it's fun. And there's nobody here but me and chickens and cats. So the cats are inside and the chickens are used to me being naked. So Melissa says, I take D3K2 with MCT oil. OMG, my bones quit aching from my knees down. That's awesome. Harpsy says, I take a D3K2 drop in olive oil. That's awesome. I had lower back pain. It went away. It used to hurt every morning for 2 hours. That's what D did for them, you guys. We like to take D plus cofactors with fish oil and an omega blend as a base fat, says Abel. Night workers miss the sun sleeping in the day, says Harpsy. Yeah, they do. The brand I take, Melissa says, is with MCT oil. Yeah, MCT is starting to be a good addition because then the manufacturer can brag about, oh, you get lots of MCTs, which are easily converted into ketones, brain health. Yeah, they all use it as marketing, but at the end of the day, they know that vitamin D is going to be healthy for your body. All right, guys, so what's right for me with vitamin D? You got sunshine, you got supplementation. You need to know that the kind that your doctor gives you is not necessarily the right kind. You can find the vitamin D supplementation at your local drugstore, vitamin store. Just pick up D3 gel caps. Again, I use the one from wildsuperfoods.com, vitamin D stack. That's the one that I use from my bud Abel James. Go check it out. It's got ADENK and lots of other good stuff in there. But take care of yourselves during this time. We should be taking care of ourselves all the time. But I am committed so much right now to, in my own life and in teaching you guys, in taking care of you. Because if you take care of you, you take care of this body you've been given, you don't have to worry about no coronavirus. Not saying it's nothing. I'm not saying that you're totally immune from it having any ravages happen in your body. But if you put your body in a better position metabolically, then even when that thing hits you, you're going to be able to handle it. And I think that's what we all want right now. We all just want to be in the best possible position to be as healthy as we can possibly be. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. And as always, you can engage live in the content. Go follow me right here, Instagram. I am at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you are there, engage live. We are here Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So be there, be square. We also simulcast over here on my Facebook page. Thank you guys for watching, as well as all my YouTubers over there. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live, watch it on replay on IGTV. We also have the past episodes up over on YouTube, so go type in the keyword Jimmy Rants. You'll find the show. By the way, over on YouTube and on IGTV, I did a nice little bonus episode yesterday. I spontaneously decided to flip the tractor tire that I have out here in my yard. So it was pouring down rain, and I decided to go out there and flip. So I did 6 rounds of 10 flips. So I got 60 flips of the tire. It's a 200-pound tire. And I am feeling it today, guys. I have soreness all in my arms, in my low back, and my glutes, and my legs. It is such a total workout that go watch it if you missed it, especially the last set, number 6. When I'm hurting and I'm trying to get to the end, I let out a belt of a scream like you've never heard before. So go watch and you'll see what I'm talking about. But it's up now over on IGTV as well as on YouTube as a bonus episode over on YouTube. So go check that out. We also have, today is the Living La Vida Low Carb show. So LLVLC.com. We have a best of Jimmy Rants podcast today. So you can actually see or listen to that podcast talking about the kids going back to school under the COVID-19 rules, as well as the kids that are killing themselves, some little bits and pieces about that. And then finally, pop on over to the official website for this show. It's jimmyrants.com. While you're there, you can see all the past episodes. And please, if you like what I do here, I am really trying to break myself of the whole having sponsors mold. I know that's been a business model that a lot of influencers have used, and as have I for many years. I want to get away from that. I think you guys are supportive enough that if you like what I do here, then you will support me. And one of the ways I have set that up is through a Patreon page. So if you go over to jimmyrants.com and click on the Patreon link, we have new tiers now where you can pledge a certain amount of money each month to help keep me going. And I know with all the people that watch these live and watch them on replay, if everybody just did something, I would never have to worry about trying to find sponsors again. And that is my goal. I would love to do it where I'm completely sponsor free. I can just do my thing and not worry about it. So if that's something important to you, I would definitely love your support. jimmyrants.com. Click on the Patreon link. All right, guys, that's it for now. Let me pop off of here. We will see you again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So be there, be square for Jimmy Rants.